All right, so you wanted the inside scoop on what's got the cybersecurity world buzzing in 2025.
Yeah, the latest trends and threats, right?
You got it. And these weekly security dossier podcast notes you provided. Pure gold.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah, it's like reading a security expert's private journal. Raw, unfiltered insights.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Get ready to dive deep, because some of this stuff is seriously wild. Like, right off the bat, this news about Australia.
Australia?
Yeah, they're planning to totally revamp their cryptography standards. By 2030, they're saying goodbye to algorithms like SHA-256 and RSA.
Whoa, hold on. Those are like the fundamental building blocks of online security. Most web connections rely on them.
That's what makes this so surprising, right? It's not a minor tweak, it's a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
And it seems to go against what everyone else is recommending globally.
It's a bold move, that's for sure. Makes you wonder what they know that we don't.
Exactly. The notes don't give a clear reason, but it sounds like they're anticipating some major vulnerabilities in these algorithms.
Maybe they're thinking long-term, like preparing for threats that haven't even fully emerged yet.
Like quantum computing.
Exactly.
Huh.
If Australia is taking such a drastic step now, maybe they're seeing the writing on the wall.
And if their concerns are valid, this could trigger a global shift in cryptography standards. Imagine the impact that would have.
Yeah, massive. It would affect everyone, not just governments and big companies, but individuals too.
It really underscores how cybersecurity is this constantly evolving game.
Speaking of evolving threats, the weekly security dossier also uncovered some intel on North Korea.
Okay, this is where it gets a little spy thriller-ish.
Yeah.
And it ties right into this whole remote work trend.
It seems that North Korean state actors are using VPNs to hide their location and apply for remote jobs all over the world.
So they're blending in with the remote work crowd. But what's the real danger here?
It's a multifaceted threat. First, there's the potential for financial gain.
Right, funneling funds back to North Korea.
But it goes deeper than that. They could be aiming to steal sensitive data, plant malware, or even disrupt critical infrastructure.
And the VPN makes it nearly impossible to trace the attacks back to them. It's like a digital cloak of invisibility.
Attribution is a nightmare in these cases, and even if you can pinpoint the source, what actions can you take against a nation-state? It gets messy, geopolitically speaking.
So essentially, this whole remote work revolution has inadvertently opened up a new attack surface.
It definitely introduces new security challenges.
Okay, time for a bit of a mind shift. Let's talk about AI. It's everywhere, and cybersecurity is no exception. What struck me in the notes was how AI is presented as both a potential savior and a potential danger.
It's the double-edged sword of AI.
One report in the dossier focuses on how AI can reduce the toil of writing detection rules.
Right. Security teams are drowning in data, trying to detect threats.
It's overwhelming.
AI can automate a lot of that heavy lifting, freeing up the human experts for more strategic stuff.
Like having an AI watchdog constantly on the lookout. But, and there's always a but, the OWASP Threat and Safeguard Matrix update reminds us that AI also brings new vulnerabilities.
Exactly. We're only beginning to understand how AI can be weaponized. Imagine AI-powered malware that learns and adapts in real time. Or AI-crafted phishing attacks, so personalized they're nearly impossible to spot.
It's like we're giving the bad guys a new arsenal. So how do we deal with this AI dilemma? Where do we even start?
The key is a balanced perspective. Recognize AI's offensive potential, but also harness its power for defense. It's a tightrope walk.
It's fascinating how AI has become such a pivotal factor in cybersecurity. But let's not forget about the tried and true threats. The dossier notes that the majority of breaches still come from old familiars: phishing, session hijacking, account takeover, and good old ransomware.
You're right, but here's the twist. It's not new types of attacks. It's their growing sophistication and coordination that's worrisome.
So the attacks themselves aren't new, but they're evolving, adapting to our defenses.
Like a virus mutating to become more resistant. And attackers are getting really good at exploiting human weaknesses, which is often the weakest link in any security system.
Okay, starting to feel a little uneasy here. It's like we're surrounded by threats, old and new. So what can we do to stay ahead? Is it even possible?
The first line of defense is awareness. Understanding the attacker's tactics, your system's vulnerabilities, and even your own online behavior.
Makes sense. So being careful about suspicious emails, using strong passwords, not oversharing online, basic stuff, but important.
Absolutely. It's about changing our mindset and adopting safer online habits.
And for organizations.
Robust security measures are a must. Think multi-factor authentication, security awareness training for employees, and proactive threat hunting.
There's a lot to juggle.
It is, which is why staying informed is so crucial. That's why deep dives like this are so valuable.
Couldn't agree more. Now, the weekly security dossier also recommended a training resource called Google Dorking. And I gotta admit, that name gained my attention. What exactly is Google Dorking?
It's a technique used by both security pros and, unfortunately, attackers. It involves using advanced search operators on Google to find sensitive information that's been accidentally exposed online.
Wait, so you can find confidential data just by using Google?
It's not that straightforward, but with the right techniques, you can uncover things like exposed server configurations, unprotected databases, even private documents.
Sounds powerful and a little terrifying.
It's both, for sure. But that's cybersecurity in a nutshell. You need to understand how attackers think, the tools they use, in order to build better defenses. It's all about being proactive.
This deep dive has been an eye-opener, to say the least. Cryptography changes, nation-state actors, AI, Google Dorking. It's a lot to take in.
Cybersecurity is a complex and constantly shifting landscape. Complacency is our biggest enemy. We have to adapt, learn, and evolve our strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
And that's exactly why we're here. This deep dive is about giving you the knowledge to feel confident and prepared in this digital age.
Knowledge is power. And in cybersecurity, that power can make all the difference. It's amazing, though, how all these seemingly disparate things connect, like pieces of a puzzle.
That's so true. We're starting to see the bigger picture, how these trends influence each other, creating this complex web of cybersecurity challenges. And speaking of puzzles, that Google Dorking thing we talked about, it's like something straight out of a hacker movie.
Right. Finding sensitive information just through clever Google searches.
It's crazy. But on a more practical level, what can everyday people like me do to be more cyber aware? We're not all security experts.
You don't need to be. It starts with being mindful of the information you share online. Think twice before posting personal details on social media. And be wary of suspicious links or attachments in emails.
So, like, if it looks fishy, don't click it. But those phishing emails are getting so good these days, it's hard to tell.
They can be very deceptive. That's why it's important to learn how to spot the red flags. Look closely at the sender's address, hover over links to check the URL, and if something feels off, trust your gut.
Good advice. What about passwords? Feels like I have a million logins these days. Remembering strong, unique passwords for everything is impossible.
Yeah, password management is a real struggle. A password manager can be a lifesaver. It generates and stores complex passwords for all your accounts, so you only need to remember one master password.
Like a digital vault for your passwords. Makes sense. What else can we do to up our cyber awareness game?
Stay informed. Make it a habit to read about cybersecurity threats and trends. There are tons of great sources out there. News articles, industry blogs, even podcasts like this one.
Well, I may be biased, but podcasts are a great way to learn on the go. You can listen while you're commuting, exercising, even doing the dishes.
Exactly. And remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. We all have a role to play in protecting ourselves, our families, even our workplaces.
It's a team effort. We can't just rely on IT departments or security professionals to handle everything.
Right. We all need to be proactive and take ownership of our digital security.
It's empowering in a way.
It is. By understanding the risks and taking simple steps to protect ourselves, we can all contribute to making the digital world a safer place.
Now back to AI. We talked about how it can be used for good and bad in cybersecurity. This AI arms race, is it something we should be really worried about?
It's definitely something to watch closely. AI is already being used on both sides of the cybersecurity battlefield. Like the dossier mentioned, AI can be a game changer for defenders, automating threat detection, analyzing data, freeing up human experts to focus on strategy.
It's like having an AI sidekick to help you fight the bad guys. But how are attackers using AI?
Well, imagine AI-powered malware that learns and adapts in real time, making it almost impossible to stop. Or AI-generated phishing attacks, so personalized they're practically indistinguishable from the real thing.
That's scary. Are we going to be constantly playing catch-up?
It's a concern, for sure. But AI is a tool, and like any tool, it depends on who's using it. We need to stay ahead of the curve, constantly adapting our defenses to counter the malicious use of AI.
So it's a never-ending game of cat and mouse.
You could say that. And this means research and development in AI security is going to be more crucial than ever.
Absolutely.
We need to invest in AI-powered tools and techniques that can effectively combat these threats. And it's going to require collaboration, too. Industry, academia, government, everyone working together.
Speaking of collaboration, the dossier also highlighted the idea of community threat intelligence, where organizations share information about threats and vulnerabilities. Seems like a no-brainer, but why aren't more organizations doing it?
There can be some hesitation, concerns about competition, reputational damage. Some organizations might worry about appearing vulnerable if they share information about attacks they've experienced.
I get it, but it seems like the benefits outweigh the risks. It's like a neighborhood watch for the digital world.
Exactly. Sharing information about attack patterns, malware, threat indicators, it all helps raise awareness and improve defenses.
So how do we get more organizations on board with this community-driven approach?
It's about building trust, fostering a culture of collaboration. Thankfully, there are industry groups, information sharing platforms that facilitate secure and anonymous threat intelligence sharing. And government agencies are stepping up to promote these initiatives too.
It's good to hear that there's movement towards greater collaboration. It's like that saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Especially with these increasingly sophisticated attacks, working together is our best defense.
Couldn't agree more. And that actually leads us to another interesting recommendation from the weekly security dossier notes, a podcast called CISO series.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Isn't that the one hosted by David Spark?
Yep, that's the one. He interviews CISOs and other security leaders about the challenges they face and the strategies they're using.
It's like getting a glimpse into how organizations are tackling cybersecurity from the top down. Definitely adding that to my list.
I highly recommend it. You'll gain valuable insights from some of the brightest minds in the industry. And for our listeners, if you want to delve even deeper, check out the resources and recommendations in the weekly security dossier notes. They're a goldmine of information.
They really are. And as we always say, knowledge is power. Especially in cybersecurity, it's crucial for making informed decisions about your digital safety.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we want to hear from you. What's resonating with you so far? What trends or threats are you finding particularly interesting or maybe concerning? Your perspective is what drives this conversation.
Welcome back for the final leg of our cybersecurity deep dive. I have to say, exploring the landscape of 2025 has been a wild ride.
It has, and we've uncovered some pretty thought-provoking stuff. Cryptography overhauls, AI on the rise, those North Korean actors blending into the remote work world.
That North Korea story really stuck with me. It shows how cybersecurity is no longer just about data and systems. It's about protecting ourselves in this increasingly blurred line between physical and digital.
You're absolutely right. Nation-state actors are using digital tools and technologies in new and unexpected ways. And the shift to remote work just expands those vulnerabilities.
Makes you think, doesn't it? So how do we even begin to protect ourselves in the face of all these evolving threats? It can feel overwhelming.
Well, I always say that knowledge is the best defense. The more we understand the threats, the tactics, the potential weak points, the better we can protect ourselves.
So staying informed is key, whether it's through podcasts like this one, industry reports, or just keeping up with cybersecurity news.
Exactly. And taking action based on that knowledge is just as important. Strong passwords, being cautious about emails, keeping software updated, those are all essential steps.
And for organizations, those more advanced measures like multi-factor authentication and proactive threat hunting.
Absolutely. It's a multi-layered approach. Individual awareness combined with organizational policies and technology.
And we can't forget about the power of collaboration. Sharing information about threats, like that community threat intelligence concept.
The more we work together, the stronger we become. Sharing knowledge, best practices, pooling resources, it's about creating a united front against these threats.
It's like that saying, two heads are better than one, but on a global scale.
Exactly. And that brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with. We've talked about the potential of AI, both the good and the bad. The question is, what will the balance of power between AI attackers and defenders look like in the future?
It's a question we all need to be thinking about. Will we be able to use AI for good, or will it become a weapon in the wrong hands? It's a bit unsettling, to be honest.
The future of cybersecurity is being shaped right now by the choices we make, the investments we prioritize, the actions we take. It's up to all of us to ensure that technology is used responsibly and ethically.
That's a powerful message. And on that note, thank you for joining us for this cybersecurity deep dive. We hope you found it informative, eye-opening, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
We encourage you to continue exploring these topics, stay curious, and stay vigilant.
Until next time, stay safe out there in the digital world.